It's just extremely upsetting that something that I feel is a very small situation that would be remedied with just some communication is really blown out of proportion.
Hello my friends, it's Ebird Online. Now what would you say if I've, well, not done a 180, but what would you say if I told you I've very possibly fallen for the okie doke? Guys, I'm beginning to think that Christian may well have been, I don't know, mischaracterised in last week's episode. Yes, that's right, I'm talking about Christian and Cleo once more. It's 90 Day Fiance, Before the 90 Days Season 6, Episode 11. So this week we're dealing with the fallout after Denialgate. As you guys know, last week, Christian denied to production that he and Cleo had slept together, and Cleo, quite understandably, jumped to the conclusion that he was embarrassed about having slept with somebody who's trans, and I followed right along for the ride. But guys, this week we get to hear Christian's side of the story, and it's, well, it's interesting. Let's just say it's interesting. Want to hear more? I thought so. But before we get into that, I very quickly want to say, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Make sure you smash the like button and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss any of my content this week. And also, if you know anybody that would like my sarcastic take on 90 Day Fiance, please consider hitting share and letting people on your social media know all about the Ebird. Thanks guys. So without further ado, I give you Christian and Cleo. So guys, don't misunderstand me. I still think this is a boondoggle relationship, and I still think that Christian's not being entirely straight with us. Pun intended. But I have to admit, I do think that Cleo has jumped to an awful lot of conclusions very quickly, and I also think she hasn't stopped for even 1 second to give any consideration to Christian's side of the situation. And so last episode, after Christian denied going all the way with Cleo, Cleo met up with her friend, Jane, or as I like to call her, Black Cloud Jane, and we left them in the car on the way back to the Airbnb. Now for some reason I thought that Christian was out and that she just wanted to have a chat with Jane about the situation in private. That was until I heard this.
What do you want me to do? Is there anything specific?
I feel like even the fact that you're there will just make me feel more at ease.
Interesting, very interesting. So basically, Cleo, you want to talk about a situation which is specifically to do with you guys, your sex life, and who's admitting what, and you're bringing Dark Cloud with you for moral support. And guys, I can honestly say I don't know what the point of bringing Dark Cloud with her is. We already know that to some extent she's quite anti-Christian for whatever reason, and so I'm entirely convinced that she'll be unhelpful in this particular situation. And so as Dark Cloud and Cleo are travelling back to the Airbnb, Christian lets us know from his point of view what the conversation was earlier that morning.
This morning, I sent a message to Cleo kind of explaining what I told the producers regarding our intimacy, and then she called me on her way to class and was really upset. She called me a manipulator, she called me a gaslighter, she asked me if I was a psychopath.
Oh dear guys, Cleo really has fired off the insults. Let's take them one by one, shall we? A manipulator. So the actual definition of a manipulator is a person who controls or influences others in a clever or unscrupulous way. Well, I've never seen him control anything. He might attempt, but he's never actually managed it. Does he influence others? Again, not really. In a clever, right, rule that out straight away, nothing Christian does is really that clever. Or unscrupulous way. Unscrupulous? I think not really. The most I can say about him is he does things in a self-serving way, what serves him best. But let's be honest, many of us serve ourselves. Right, so on to gaslighting. This is overused and much misunderstood. Now, the one thing I want to say about gaslighting in the first instance is the fact that it is the use of repeated behaviour in order to achieve its aim. So repeatedly telling somebody, no, you shouldn't have seen it that way, this is how it really is. It's never just one-off lie. But gaslighting is when somebody's trying to manipulate a situation to get somebody else or a group of other people to question their own reality, memory or perceptions. Christian may have misrepresented the truth, but it certainly wasn't gaslighting. Calling it gaslighting is putting 20 on 10. And finally, a psychopath. A psychopath is a person having an egocentric and antisocial personality, marked by a lack of remorse for one's actions, an absence of empathy for others, and often criminal tendencies. Now guys, there's lots and lots of things that I can say about Christian, but he's not a bloody psychopath. Come on, Cleo. Guys, she's really just doing the most. It's making me laugh. And also, very often psychopaths are usually quite clever. So, there's that. And so Cleo and Black Cloud finally arrive at the house, and Black Cloud dramatically said, "Lead the way." Oh Lord, thank God we're in the darkness of night, so that Christian doesn't notice the black cloud she brings with her wherever she goes. Christian tells production that he doesn't want to live his life in a relationship on edge, waiting for somebody else to decide if he's an evil person or not. And guys, I really have to say that I think some of the language being used about Christian is massively OTT. Manipulative, gaslighter, psychopath. I gotta say, it's a lot. It really is a lot. And so they go into the apartment, and Black Cloud Jane meets Christian for the first time and they shake hands. And Christian points out, and for once I agree with him, it's not great circumstances we're meeting under, and I feel like you guys have already been talking, so I don't know if I'm going to get a fair shake. Oh well, Christian, don't worry too much. If you did get a shake, you'd probably deny it to production tomorrow anyway. And so the trio sit down to begin the interrogation. But before they do, Cleo has a quick chat to production.
Being autistic, I definitely thrive on emotional consistency when it comes to commitment. And because Christian has gone back so much on his words, I do need that emotional support of a friend.
Cleo, what woman, or in fact person, doesn't want emotional consistency? Everybody does, so that is nothing to do with you being autistic. And secondly, you said Christian's gone back on his words so much. Now don't get me wrong, we all guffawed along when Christian said, "I wait for women to make the first move," and we knew that kind of not to be true. But we also knew that was code for, "I'm not fully yet comfortable with this situation." Yes, he did downplay what had happened between you sexually, but that's one incident. You act as if he's lying all the time, and it's hard to keep a track of all the lies, and he's a tricksy, wriggly little worm, when really he's just quite a basic fibber. I think the real reason that she wanted Black Cloud Jane there was to gain the upper hand, and also to insinuate that you're somehow a weak victim. But guys, lest we forget, we're in front of a whole camera crew who are busy capturing everything on film. So with that in mind, no matter how much he double talks and wriggles his way around things, you can always give that famous reality TV cry, "Roll back the tapes." And so Cleo begins to speak.
So I don't feel really great right now, so I don't know how well I'll be able to articulate what I think.
Oh really, Cleo? You're not sure how well you'll be able to articulate yourself? Thus far, you've been able to articulate yourself very, very well in every situation. Right from him talking to girls in bars, to him not being considerate of your autism. The one thing you can do is articulate yourself. And also, if you're feeling as fragile as you'd have us believe, where's your paraphernalia? Where's the fiddle toy? Where's your lanyard? Guys, I think she's playing for the cameras here. I really do. She's definitely playing for the sympathy card. She's far, far stronger than she'd have us believe. And so Cleo begins and she said, "You told me having sex was a really important part of the relationship, and then when we do it, you suddenly change your tune, you lie. I'm struggling to understand where we stand." Cleo, let's have it right. He said having sex is important, not telling everyone that we had sex is important. Two different things. Telling everybody is what's important to you, and you should have perhaps communicated just why that was so important. I think your major issue is you think he's embarrassed about sleeping with a trans person, and he doesn't want to acknowledge to others that he's had sex with you, and that's the problem. And so Christian said, "Right, when I called you this morning and I asked you what you'd said, I wanted to double check, because I thought you might have been uncomfortable letting production know what we'd done." And Cleo said, "Oh no, I told you right away that I was very comfortable with everything and I wanted to be open." And she said, "Why would I change my mind?" Cleo, I'll say this much. There's many a woman that slept with somebody and they definitely don't want it to be bandied around the day after. We've seen it many times on this franchise. Now, do I believe that that's the reason that Christian kept it quiet? I kind of don't. I think he was, ruminating on it all a little bit. However, let's look at Cleo's conduct. Cleo couldn't wait to grab a whole production team and go and sit and tell Black Cloud Jane in a cafe, "Well, we went all the way. What do you mean? Everything, girl. We had sex." She was like big head up in that bitch. She wanted everybody to know, "I've slept with Christian." And I have to say, it was pretty quick that you managed to get that on film. And I think it was because that suited you. You thought, "I want everyone to know that I've slept with Christian." Christian's into trans girls, I'm a trans girl, it's a win. That's what you wanted to tell the world, because just 24 hours before, you were worrying about the intimacy and if he would find you attractive, and if this was ever going to happen, and once it did, you couldn't wait to tell everyone. And guys, I do think there should be some consideration for the fact that although these guys said, yeah, if production ask, we'll be open, Cleo let production know in 0.02 seconds everything that had happened. And she also filmed a scene knowing it would get out to everybody. So did she consider his friends and family and his feelings, or was it all just what she wanted to happen? He may have agreed with her to tell people, if asked, under duress. Did she consider his feelings in all of this? Christian tried to defend himself and he said, well, I was trying to avoid a situation like this. And Cleo jumped in and said, but you created this situation. And then he said, why would I express my feelings to you and have sex with you and then just lie? And she said, but you did. And Black Cloud chimed in and said, yeah, you did. And guys, I found that every time he tried to speak or tried to make his point, they kind of jumped down his throat. They continually cut him off mid-sentence. And Black Cloud said to production, I think Christian's trying to save face. That's why he's so defensive. Maybe so, but I also think he's defensive because he's been accused of all sorts of things. Gaslighting, psychopathy, manipulation. So that's likely why he's so defensive. And then Black Cloud Jane made the following accusation.
I am not sure if Christian is confident to date a transgender woman. The only reason why he basically admitted that he had sex with Cleo is because he was challenged by her.
And guys, I don't know if we can 100% say that at this point. Was he conflicted about having sex with her? I think that he was, but it's only because of what society thinks about that and what other people, including his friends and family, think about it. I think he should have perhaps been given a few days' grace to be open about the exact nature of their intimacy. I really do. And as for Jane saying he's not confident to date a transgender woman, no, he isn't. He's never done it before, and Cleo knew this. If you are somebody's first experience of a trans relationship, there are likely going to be issues and hurdles to climb. I'm sure when people come out as gay, the first time they have gay sex, they may not rush and tell everybody. That's just part and parcel of doing something which society views in a negative light. Is Christian fully to blame for that? Not necessarily, no. It's the world we live in. And guys, the whole time they're talking, Jane's just sitting there, throwing a semi-disgusted glare Christian's way, and finally Christian snapped. He said, I feel really ganged up on. Jane, would you mind fucking off? Well, he didn't say that. Jane, would you mind standing outside so Cleo and I can talk about Cleo and I's sex life and Cleo and I's relationship together? Well done, Christian. You don't need this third wheeler. Once alone, Christian tries once more to elucidate his thought process to Cleo.
I was trying to double check with you before I said anything that would have made you uncomfortable. But when we were on the phone, you didn't really let me speak, and you were just telling me, you're such a gaslighter, you're such a manipulator, are you a psychopath?
Guys, he makes a good point. We don't know how long or how in-depth this discussion was, saying, yep, let's just be open about everything that happened. And to be fair, they haven't been that open, because I still don't know exactly what happened. This first base, second base business, or all the way business, I don't know really necessarily what that consists of or what that means. But Christian kind of fudged the situation with producers, and then obviously he called Cleo straight away, and she started popping off at him. Maybe if she'd have said, oh no, you can be honest, and he said, okay, well, yeah, I'll redo my segment again with producers then. Maybe it would have just all been finished. We don't know. I kind of think not. I kind of have a thought in my head that he had some residual embarrassment, but we really can't be sure. And Cleo, you jumped the gun with your accusations. And it did make me laugh because he said, you called me a psychopath. And she went, I did not call you a psychopath. I said you're displaying psychopathic behaviour. Who displays psychopathic behaviour? That's right, psychopaths. It seems it's not just Christian who's splitting hairs, Cleo. And so Christian said, you didn't give me a chance to speak. You jumped in and you called me a manipulator and a gaslighter, and I'm not going to be in a relationship with somebody that calls me these types of things. To be quite honest, they are pretty harsh accusations. They're pretty much the most toxic, awful people you can be around. And whilst I think Christian's a fantasist and has a high opinion of himself, I don't know if he's a gaslighter or a manipulator, and I certainly do not think he's a psychopath. And then Cleo said, I'm sorry, I didn't filter myself. It's not really that you didn't filter yourself, Cleo. It's the fact that you believe it to be true in the first instance. Therein lies the problem. You failed to give Christian a fair hearing when he's travelled thousands of miles to be with you, and it's all on national TV. So Cleo then asks him, why would you hide that we've been intimate? I think that you were embarrassed and not ready to date a transgender. If you did think that, Cleo, don't you think you owed him a few days or, as I say, a week or so to come to terms with things and to start being more open? Do you think that you pull the rug out immediately? Is that what we do? I don't know. If that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life, you're going to find a lot of your relationships are going to be very difficult. People always need time to acclimatise to a new situation, no matter what it is. And so guys, listen to what happens when Christian does try to clarify how he feels about this whole situation.
I could care about what society thinks. I let for a brief moment what my family thought influenced me for a very short time.
I get that. I'm more interested in understanding where your feelings are.
This is the thing, is now you're questioning me when I'm telling you the truth.
So there are two things here. First up, he very confidently asserts, I couldn't care what society thinks. I had a brief blip with my parents and my friends back home. And guys, if we're to be really honest and to really think about this whole situation, I have to say I must give him the benefit of the doubt. He's doing this in front of the world. And if he did just want a little sneaky link with somebody trans, he would have either got an escort or just got a secret girlfriend in America. He's doing this for the world to see, so I have to kind of take him at his word that he's not that bothered about what society thinks. But I'm also prepared to consider that maybe the morning after first having sex with Cleo, he had another similar, oh my god, what will people think blip. If he did, I can't fully blame him for it. Because I think an awful lot of people would have an awful lot of shit to chat about it. Is that great for Cleo? No, it's not. But if after a very short amount of time, he's ready to be open to people, does it really matter that much? But then the second thing, and this has started to get on my nerves with Cleo, as he's talking and trying to express himself, in fact as he's answering a question that she has just posed, she cuts him off, and she always does it. She can't wait for him to finish his sentence. She has to cut him off and say, but why this? But why that? I'm finding her very rude and very annoying this week. I really am. And then Cleo said to him, oh, you seem very upset. I don't want you to be upset. Well, then perhaps don't triple upon the slurs that you call him. And he said, yes, I am very upset. And she said, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. Oh, thank you, Cleo. She's bestowing us with the benefit of the doubt. Cleo, you have no clear or definitive evidence that he was embarrassed about you. Do we think he probably was? Maybe. I think it's very possible, but I don't know for sure. If he was still denying things, I could get more on board with what she's saying, but he's admitting they've had sex, and he's saying I don't care who knows about it. And let's face fact, Cleo, you don't really know Christian, so you've got nothing with which to contrast his behaviour with. You really don't know how he's likely to behave in any given situation. But once again, he denies having second thoughts about the situation, and is quite exuberant about it. Guys, I don't know if I'm falling for the old okie doke, but I really don't know what to think. Maybe he is a master manipulator. Maybe he's got the Ebird all manipulated. I'd love to know what you guys think. I'm just not sure. Logic tells me one thing, but watching it and hearing him, well, I am second guessing my first initial feelings. And so finally Christian said, this argument can help to strengthen our relationship. And I'm not really sure about this because I don't think either one of them have been fully open. I think that Cleo should have said to Christian, I thought that you were rejecting me and trying to deny sleeping with me, and this has happened before. It's a pattern that guys do after getting with me, and that's what I thought had happened here. But she hasn't said that. She said, but why would you deny it? But why? But why? Were you having second thoughts about sleeping with me? Why didn't you want everybody to know? And so I just feel like she hasn't been completely upfront with how upset this made her feel or why she was completely triggered by this. I can imagine it's happened before and it's a trigger point. And so, as Black Cloud still sits outside, listening nosily at the door, the couple decide to hug it out. And Cleo said, I want to believe that you're comfortable with dating a trans woman. But then just seconds later, to production, she says this.
I'm feeling so confused right now because I'm still unsure that he's comfortable with dating a trans woman.
Oh Lord. Okay, so if he isn't fully comfortable, which I don't know how he would be, given that it's the very first time he's done it, everything is brand new for him. If he isn't comfortable, are you willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, or do you expect him to do something and become immediately comfortable with it within one day? Admittedly, if he's still behaving like this after 2 or 3 weeks, maybe then that's time to, I don't know, call it a day or take a step back to have a think about things, but I feel like she's rushing all of this along. So Black Cloud Jane finally leaves, but not without Christian saying, can we meet again and go for a pint at some point and get to know each other? And instead of just saying, yeah, that would be lovely, she looked at Cleo as if to say, well, what do you think? And Cleo nodded and she said, yeah, sure, as unenthusiastically as ever there was. And Christian finishes off by saying, well, our communication hasn't been clear, and I'm a little bit upset that I didn't get the benefit of the doubt from Cleo. I know I made a mistake by not being honest about our intimacy, but if we'd have had clearer communication, I think that wouldn't have happened. And there's just time for Jane to rain one more black cloud over the relationship.
I did feel that he was very defensive, but also attacking in his defense, like as a friend. I don't have a very good feeling about this. And I just want you to be kind of guarded a little bit, maybe. Because I don't know if you're building a castle in a sand that's just going to collapse.
And so Black Cloud Jane stays negative right to the very end. And that's where we end things for this week. So guys, I'd love to hear what you think about this. Are you like me and you're kind of in two minds? I definitely am. I'm not quite sure if the picture we were painted last week is necessarily true. And even if it is, even if Christian was a little bit embarrassed or slightly reticent to tell other people what had happened, is that the end of the world? Does he not deserve some time to get his head around the situation? I kind of think he does. So guys, I'd love to know what you think in comments down below. Please let me know and we can all discuss. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I'll get on with my next video. You've been listening to Ebird Online and I bid you good day.